This is her. Well, this is one of these.
So are you going down to talk to these people, or?
To tell you the truth, I had already thought I was going to go to my house, and next door in the church, there was an event by this woman that arranged me to visit 12 different states in a bus, and I was pretty close to her, but she just got married recently and didn't invite me to the wedding, and like, blah, blah, blah.
So, Joe, what was the event like? Because Joe Barton, my husband, and I are late. We were late getting out of Woodstock.
I came late enough that I didn't hear the speeches. I just arranged myself to get them so that their first turn when they joined the march down to Liberty Plaza, there they are marching. And so they're fresh and they get their slogans, and one of them is, "We're the 99%. And then I whisper in the air, "Yeah, honey, and I'm the one to lead you. I'm the one." But then I said, "Oh, it's great the people are waking up." And they're going, "Yeah, yeah." So I was like leading a little cheering as they went away. And the good-looking women, I would come in and stay with them and ask them their birthday. And I did get one woman who's August 29, I think. It was August 31. It was like not quite a September 10th. But she gave me all kinds of literature, and I should look up on YouTube. She's from Oregon.
Is she close enough for your birthday factor to be a compatibility item?
She was so nice. I was going to make an exception. We'll go a whole 11 days away from September 10th, you know. So honey. So anyhow.
Philosophy goes out the door, huh? When the sexual attraction is there? Yay.
So, I got some blank hats if you want to make a hat with something on it. You want to do it?
No, I'm okay.
All right.
I think
Paula got a hat that says it all.
Wait, you want to show my hat? So this
Paula has the hat that says it all.
This hat is
Revolution.
Yeah, it's about the energy of the founding fathers, because we're into constitutional rights, standing up for our rights in a timely way. There's a lot of officers you might want to see.
Oh, that's so cute.
So we were a little bit concerned about false arrest, but I was happy that we got a little recap from Joe Friendly here. But Joe, Martin, my husband, and I are going to be walking down to see if there's anything left, and maybe tomorrow we heard.
I walked up to the big shots before it started. I went, "Hi, I'm Joe Friendly."
Right, we've got our M&M passes here.
You got yours too, huh?
I got mine too.
All right.
Yeah, so we
Producer power.
We thought if it got really heavy and people were being clobbered and clubbed, we would say we're pressed, because I really didn't want to be in a jail.
Hottest cop in the business. So I will say this now. I got something new. What I did was I was imagining.
Can we walk down that way, Joe?
I was imagining that I would be invited to speak to the whole group. And I had just had my first tokage after 3 days. You know, I was like up there. And I set up the camera on a tripod in the subway car I was riding on the Express. And I did my 5 minutes into the camera, and I spelled out the whole revolution. I was like, I went off on Confucius, and the birthday, and the solar compass, and the Joe Change.us to the articulation of a definitive revolution by discussion. A friendly revolution. And it all put together beautiful. You know, I was like spontaneous language once in a while. And all that. So
you know what happens when Joe Friendly sees pretty girls?
Viagra made a deal with Pepsi Cola?
Yeah.
Oh, what did I do? And the Viagra and Pepsi, they got a new drink. And it's called, here's how you got Mount. And D.O.
Mountain Dew.
Dew. Mountain Dew. This is
Mountain Dew. We were watching an hour-long special on tigers. Tigers in India. You think we got it rough? It's pretty tough for tigers.
Put in the line. Tonight, 5 minutes before the revolution.
This is keeping a lot of policemen employed, at least. But
when you watch the actual arrest on the bridge, it was all done by white shirts. The ones in the blue shirts didn't want to do it.
Oh, really? White shirts did the arresting?
Yeah.
Undercover people?
No, not undercover. Leadership.
Leadership.
You know, in other words, the captains, the ones with rank. The regular cops wouldn't do it.
So how many of them did the arrest?
Well, I'll send you the link, but it's Russian television. The guy who made it is Daryl Lang, Daryllang, I think. And he captured it beautifully.
Did you put that on your show?
No, I didn't. I wasn't even clever enough to know what was going on. What I put on my show was the peaceful arrests that were simple after the people just said, okay, you know, you want to arrest me, all right. But before that, they were locked down.
What do you mean they were locked down?
You marched for what? What does it say?
Not hate.
Oh. What did you think of the event? What did you think of the protest?
It's amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah. They're exhausted, though.
That's the thing. When we get too tired, we can't be sharp about what the real solutions are. My feeling is, what's the use to protest Wall Street, because it's just a casino. So what is the plan? But we were happy to run into our good friend Joe Friendly, who always has nice energy.
You want to take a picture of that? Yeah, that's
I wonder if they're allowed to
let's see. We got Paula Gloria. I'm trying to unmute. Hi, Rabbit Hole Central. You've been unmuted.
Hey, Paula. Hey,
Angela.
Angela, I'm sorry. How you doing?
Hi, Joe.
Here.
And Paula.
Fine, thanks. Hi.
We put up on the website this lady who's in Oregon who's really having problems in court. And she's got 2 kids. If there's anybody out there on the website, on the web that can help this woman, we're trying to help her with some legal advice, but she really needs someone like Constitution Man. If you could hook Constitution Man up with her, we put her thing up on the website.
On the chat.
On the chat.
Send me her information in an email with her phone number, and I will forward it to him.
Okay, we'll do that.
Don't make more work for me. You want me to go to some chat or what? Is it here in the chat here? Is that what you mean?
I put it in the chat. We just found out about it yesterday, and she had taken a plea, and she felt really betrayed by, unfortunately, Normal. We know not to be a good group, but it's
yeah, no.
Normal's lawyers screwed her as usual.
Was this a marijuana issue?
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's got 2 young kids and she's all by herself. If they put her in jail, what happens to the kids? You know, they'll take them and put them in home, and then they'll be abused. You know, she really needs. We're trying to help her, and we'll do what we can, but we don't have the knowledge. She really needs Constitution Man to step in and give her some advice.
Okay, well, like I said, put it all in an email and send it to me, and I'll just forward it to him. Just make sure it's got her phone number. He's supposed to be on tonight, though. I don't know if he's having...
We put her website up, and her story's on there. If people want to go take a look, anyone that could help her, she really needs it.
What's the website?
Well, what we did is we sent it says Oregon woman on trial for helping dying man without a valid medical marijuana card. She gave a little bit of marijuana to somebody before he got his card. She's all legal, supposedly legal. We know that permits and licenses are baloney. And now she's beginning to understand. And at the last 2 minutes, she took the plea because she was afraid for her children. And then she said to her attorney, now I see in reading it deeper, it's because he's a normal attorney. She goes, if there's just 1% of a chance that I can prevail, will you stand with me? And essentially, he wouldn't. And so she felt completely alone. And everyone that told her not to take a plea, they all backed off. It's easy to say when you're kind of all pumped up and medical marijuana is the thing and you're curing people and you think you're legal. And then all of a sudden it all comes crashing on you. But she's got a lot of guts. She's got the right spirit. She just needs some more knowledge.
Yeah, never have enough knowledge, that's for sure.
Right.
Well, like I said, send me an email. I know it's up here on the
someone on the
chat. But
it's a big scam. Yeah, we know that too.
That's what we've been saying for 40 years.
She's not in jail saying that.
Well, now, remember, though, she won't be getting legal advice. What she'll be getting is advice about what other people have done and what reasonable people would do.
Yeah,
so
we know that. That's
legal advice. Okay.
Yeah, right. Reasonable is the word.
She's located. No, she's not in jail. She's located in where, Oregon?
Yeah, she's in Josephine County. I mean, it's a pretty short
People
letter.
should go to her website and read her letter.
Saying a website. This is not her website.
Oh, what is it? Okay, tell them how to get there.
This is a normal thing, using her. That's what normal does. Is we had a wheelchair guy working with the Marijuana Policy Project, and he was the poster boy, and he was articulate and quite handsome, but he's in a wheelchair. So as soon as he gets busted, Marijuana Policy Project?
Marijuana Policy Project.
It's just a clone of normal. They say, thanks for telling us. We'll take you off the website.
They used him because he was in a wheelchair to collect money. They wheeled him around and used him. And then when he got busted, they said, okay, we'll take you off our list. And they just wrote him off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Joe was just starting to use a lot of these moves in court, but it was sort of felt that he didn't have quite the ability that Joe and Jay did in court, so he eventually took a plea. I mean, it's horrifying. If you read what a felon is, it's frightening what a felony is. When I started to really educate myself and to think that this guy is a felon, outrageous, but anyway.
And he's a paraplegic.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I emailed her to try to listen tonight, and I hope Constitution Man comes on. Joe and Jay took their plea back within 24 hours, but she's not really prepared. You can see she's been in the hands of normal for a while.
Yeah, well, you can only do so much. People don't understand also, and boy, you think they do, and then they get in front of a judge, and all of a sudden they turn to mush. So,
can I read her letter? It's not that long.
Go ahead.
It says, hi, my name is Lindy Heist. I'm a single mom with 2 beautiful, thriving daughters. I strive to make my community and planet a better place. I would love to share more about that, but for now I'll get to the point and immediate concern. September 27th, I go to trial for growing weed. I think my case is unique and presents an opportunity to help make a change to an ignorant lose-lose system. They are charging me with 11 charges, of which 9 are felonies, some with mandatory minimum sentences. If convicted, I face years in prison. I have been offered a plea, which is significantly better in terms of prison time. My attorney is encouraging me to take it based only on the risk involved of going against the officers who have conveniently created a false reality to support their agenda, bust and incriminate, as well as loopholes, gray areas in the medical cannabis defense laws. The reason I say my case is unique and holds opportunity are as follows. I am among the less than 5% in my county and probably the country that refuses to take a plea. That is probably why they want to teach me, a lesson. I have zero criminal record, nada. They violated my rights, my children's rights, and the rights of my patients. One of my patients died as a result. I wasn't over in the amount of plants I could have. If they argue it was over, it would come down to half a plant that was in a curing phase. I don't have more usable medicine, that's what is in quotes, than was allowed. There wasn't any weapons, drugs, or money. My attorney filed a motion to suppress the evidence because of all the questioning, coercive incrimination tactics, and searching that went on during the raid before they read me my Miranda rights. This has already gone to trial. The judge is still deciding. What they are calling evidence amounts to very little. Their word/interpretation against mine and a page out of one of my inspiration journals regarding my dream of legalizing marijuana, taxing, and what our community could create with all that money. The fear my attorney has is they are trying to throw out the laws that would defend me as a registered card holder and grower based on the fact that I gave my friend patient the medicine before he could make it to the clinic for his card that we were in the process of obtaining. It is my friend who passed away. He was a quadriplegic. Besides aiding his physical symptoms mentally and emotionally, the cannabis did wonders for keeping his spirit hopeful. He believed he would walk again someday. I'll be running with my grandkids again. Needless to say, after the raid and charges and fear, etc., I was unable to answer his request for, help me, Lindy, please bring me something. Soon he was wanting to die. Then he did. It was painful to watch. It is even more infuriating to know it could have been prevented, or at the very least, his leaving this physical body could have been significantly eased. The law defends my friend. He had a qualifying, debilitating condition, and even without his card yet, he would still be covered legally to use the medicine. Apparently not me for providing him with it, though, thus being a huge factor in why they get to throw out the laws that would cover me. I'm not taking a plea. Well, she actually did, but, she was so pressured. For one, they violated our rights. Second, I'm innocent. Definitely don't deserve to go to prison.
Okay, Paula, hold on a second. We've got Constitution Man has come on. Are you there, Constitution Man?
I finally got there. I finally did it.
Hey, yay! Have you heard anything?
Stormy here where we're at. It's very hard to get. Very hard.
I'm sorry. I wish I could make it stop. But I'm glad you made it. Anyway, it was better late than never, right?
Well, you never say die. Never say die. We just keep going. That's how I kept my lips, okay? Because I've been right to the door of the operating room where they were going to cut them off 4 times.
Oh, man. Were you able to hear anything that Paula was saying?
I've been there for the last 20 minutes trying to get a gist of what's going down.
Okay.
And the frustration here, because there's a difference between somebody who has a medical debilitation and need for medicine and a person who's just out blowing dew, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not the thing. But it should be the same thing because a right is a right is a right. And who's to say whether one person has a lesser right than another person? But the law does say that a person who has a medical debilitation, who has a doctor to prescribe, can use the material lawfully. Now, what's going on here is the politics of the thing. They don't want anybody interrupting their profit margin on their big-time transfer. So they're going to go after this little guy over here just so they can keep the competition down to a dull roar, and they get to run their operation and keep the price high. Otherwise, the price would be low. You see, if everybody could just go ahead and do this, why should you pay the top dollar for this stuff? Why wouldn't everybody have a little growing in their front yard? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what we got here is a combination of hypocrisy and stupid. And the unfortunate thing is the poor guy in the wheelchair or the person that's in serious medical, cancer or whatever, he is being discriminated against merely so they can keep the price high, and the demand to keep going.
Excuse me, Constitution man. This is about a girl that was supplying the medicine, and she's got 2 children, and they want to put felonies on her and put her in jail.
Well, does she have a license to do these medical procedures?
She did have a license to supply medical marijuana, but the guy in the wheelchair didn't quite have his card yet, but he was in a lot of pain. So being a compassionate person, she gave him some, and that's what they came after her for.
Now, when she gave him some, where did they find this? On him or on her?
I don't know all the facts. She only got in touch with me and Paula yesterday, and we've been trying to help her, but we think
Joe.
Would be
Don't
better.
Yell. Sounds like you're yelling.
You've been trying to help this poor person. You've been trying to help this poor person because she was kind and helped this individual who was in dire need, right?
Right, and you have more knowledge than us. We would like you to try to help her.
Well, first of all, let me see if we can't get some idea of what the actual charge is being to her. Is she going to be charged with being a supplier, or is she going to be charged with possession?
I don't know all the facts because I just got in touch with her yesterday, but we'll somehow get her in touch with Angela so she can get in touch with you.
Well, I'll do my very best. But what it sounds like here is, I don't know what state's involved here or what their laws are involved, but there's a funny thing about the law that a lot of people don't take into consideration. Did you create the law? No. You didn't create it. Who created it? They did. Okay? Now, when they create the law, and this goes back to Contract Law 101, you go right back there and it says that the contract shall be interpreted in favor of the non-preparer of the document. Does that make sense? Why? Because the preparer could conceivably make this thing crystal clear. They could make it totally within the realm and aspects of the law. So it sounds to me like there's an ambiguity here, that they didn't make or clarify the law clear enough for all parties to clearly understand what constitutes the illegal part versus the legal part. Now, does that make sense as a summation here?
Yes, absolutely.
You need to talk with this woman.
No, she said there's gray areas in the medical marijuana law.
Well, here's the thing. The gray areas have to be enforced in favor of who? The non-preparer of the document. She didn't prepare the document. They did. Now, they had a chance to make it crystal clear. They didn't do that. Now, there's another part of the law that's a real unique part of the law. It goes to 16th Am Jurisprudence 2nd, Section 97, which says that the law and the Constitution will be interpreted to include every word, every phrase, every syllable, to include the punctuation, to include the intent of the framer of the law, and that goes to Cohen versus Virginia 632-1821, which says the intent of the framer is the law. So when we go down here to the Federalist Papers, and that gives the people the exact, what the forefathers exactly wanted done, and that intent is supposed to be considered in the law. The intent of the people that made this law was that people who had a just medical need could receive some benefit or relief, even though for the majority party, it's technically illegal, you understand, for possession, but these people are actually, they're going to the effort of giving them a special card that says, hey, you have a special need, so we're going to help you out here. We'll give you this card, and therefore you can have possession of this as long as you are within the realm and the aspects of the law. But see, the law is supposed to be interpreted to include every word, every phrase, every syllable, to include the punctuation, to include the intent of the framer, and then after you figure all that out, it's supposed to be liberally enforced in favor of the clearly intended and especially designated, what? Beneficiary of the contract. Who's the beneficiary of the contract, the law? Isn't the people the beneficiary? Aren't you, the citizens, the beneficiary? Isn't it supposed to be interpreted in favor of you, the intended beneficiary, for the protection of your rights and or your property? And there is a Supreme Court case that says so. It's Byers v. United States, 273 U.S. 28. And it says that, okay, if there's an ambiguity, and you honestly believe that your view of the thing is the correct view, and that the law never intended to harm, but to benefit, okay, what happened here? We have a clear ambiguity. Obviously, there was a misconstruence. This party actually thought that they were doing a just and lawful thing, okay? And the reality was they're coming and interpreting the strict black-letter law of their side of the thing, saying, no, this was illegal. This guy didn't have his card. Now, it seems to me like the law was not supposed to cut in a double-edged sword, but that's exactly what it's doing. And see, if he followed the law as he thought the law was, which was that he was a medical practitioner, he was clearly, or she was clearly within the scope of that medical practice, and that they are now going to discriminate in favor of them, that they have broken that intent of the framer. And no was the framer intending to harm anybody. They were intending to benefit, okay? So they passed this law, and they said, we're going to benefit you. We'll allow for this medical exclusion. Well, it seems to me there was a medical problem. Does that make sense to you? So why are we having this confusion now when clearly the law was supposed to benefit the citizen for the protection of their rights and property? Byers v. United States, 273 U.S. 28, 16th Am. Jurisprudence, Section 97. The law is supposed to help the people who are the beneficiaries of the law for the protection of their rights and their property. Now, it looks to me like they've overlooked all this major law and just done what they damn well please. Does that make sense to you?
Well, we think the whole medical marijuana was a setup to just register people, and what she's saying, she's beginning to feel that way. She felt like she was raped once she took the plea, but she was terrified to lose her children. They said if you're in jail for so long, your children will be given over to foster care and
services.
Yep. And they make a lot of money on that too. You realize that?
Yeah.
Selling children is a big business in this country.
It's horrifying and it's frightening. But aren't statutes different than what you're talking about?
Well,
because I think
we go into Article 4, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution, which says full faith and credit of the law from state to state. You know, it's supposed to be full faith and credit. So if the law says one thing, that the law is the law, and we don't have 50 different interpretations of the law in 50 different states. There's supposed to be some cooperation factor from state to state, and it seems to me that these laws are passed and that there is a recognition that these laws are passed and that they seem to be trying to follow some semblance of sanity here, that they realize these people have a serious medical problem, and certainly the benefit of the doubt should be resolved in favor of the non-preparer of the law, which is the citizen again. So what we have here is a ridiculousness here, a combination of hypocrisy and a combination of ridiculousness, and the people or the citizens are not benefiting here, are they? It's not being liberally enforced in favor of the clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiary of the citizen. It's being enforced in favor of the prosecution or the plaintiffs in the prosecution.
You're not kidding. For half a plant, you've got 9 felonies crashing down on you?
Well, it sounds to me like a duplicity or a double standard here where they're making double jeopardy, some type of double jeopardy going here. That sounds to be one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that they're enforcing the thing in favor of them instead of in favor of the people who are the clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiaries. So there's a double whammy going here, and certainly she's the non-preparer of the document.
Right.
So it should be liberally enforced in favor of her. She had an honest, even if it was a mistake, it was honest. And that it's supposed to be interpreted in favor of the non-preparer. Well, she didn't prepare the law. So what's happening here? They're ignoring your basic constitutional rights to having the law interpreted in favor of you, the clearly intended and explicitly designated beneficiary. Again, that was a violation.
How does she undo the plea that she just took yesterday?
Well, that's very difficult. See, once you take a plea, you don't have the right to appeal anymore. You see that?
But there's been no ruling.
There's been no ruling yet.
No ruling yet? Well,
no, and
she has a right to withdraw her plea if there's reasonable cause. It sounds to me like there was significant error here, and on ineffective counsel or bad advice of counsel, she took the plea thinking that she was getting her children in less jeopardy by doing so. Because when she made the plea, the inducement was that if she took the plea, she wouldn't lose her children. In theory, that was the inducement. And that's why she did it, because of love and caring of her children. And then they double backed on her, and then the next thing you know, she's looking at, well, I'm going to lose my kids just out of common sense, but I'm going to be put in jail, even on the plea for so long, I've lost them anyway. So it really wasn't a very honest plea, was it?
Right, and she's saying in the crowd that she's running with, I'm not receiving much support on this end trying to get back my plea. And they say, quote, Lindy, right now you still have the opportunity to appeal the suppression of evidence ruling. Why would you...
well, here we go. Now we're into another issue. This is suppression of evidence. We get into Title 18 United States Code, Section 3500, which is called the Jenks material. And in the Jenks material, it very clearly states that if the government should be found in violation of the Jenks material pursuant to U.S. versus Jenks, that the government proceeds at their very peril and that due process has been denied. So now we go to Title 5 United States Code, Section 706, which says whenever due process has been denied, all jurisdiction ceased. So they didn't have a lawful right to proceed if they denied her due process or if they violated the Jenks material. There's another case called Brady versus Maryland, 373 U.S. 83, which says that if the government is found to have deliberately denied the defendant access to information which could, in theory, change the outcome of the entire trial or proceedings, that the government erred and that a denial of due process occurred. Well, if this happened, then all judgments are voidable ab initio from their inception. There was no jurisdiction to proceed, and technically they screwed up bad. And most federal judges, I know one chief judge in particular, issued a standing order in the state of Michigan, Judge James B. Churchill, on the 18th of February, 1994, which said if it is found that the government has deprived an individual of exculpatory evidence, either extrinsic or intrinsic, and that information, had it been provided, would have changed the entire outcome of the entire trial or judgment, that the government proceeds at their very peril and everything must be dismissed by law. So I would be arguing if they denied exculpatory evidence, if they denied facts and evidence that would have caused her to be vindicated and or found not guilty, and they didn't bring that information forward and it is found later, then the judgment and or trial would be vacated and she would be free anyway, just for the denial of due process. And that's Title 5, U.S. Code, Section 706. You start reading the thing. Title 5, Section 706. Over here. Just a second. Bear with me here. I'm old. When I'm doing...
Just while you're doing that, she says she felt like taking the plea was like selling her soul to this evil and corrupt system.
That's exactly the way it is.
You feel like
you're selling your own self out, to thine own self be true, and you feel like you're being raped.
Right. Right.
Sometimes you either do business and take care of business, or you're out of luck. You're in deep doo-doo. So I understand what's going on, but I also understand people are pushed into positions, and then they got to make decisions, and sometimes those decisions are skewed based on the premise that they were trying to look out for their children, or they were held between a rock and a hard place, between heaven and earth, and they had to do the right thing, if for nothing else, for their children.
And she says, the thought of taking on my own case by myself still feels like a crazy idea. Wish I would have had that knowledge before I felt so beat down and alone.
I understand. That's one of the reasons why I'm out here even getting a listen, because people know that I can actually help get them some assistance here and that they actually can do this. And see, a lot of times they don't think they can, and then they got this guy in this $3,000 suit standing there telling them, oh, you can't do that, it's ridiculous. You're just going to lose, da-da-da-da-da. And unfortunately, the system is not set up to allow for people like us that want to actually do this. But one needs to enter into this with serious understanding and responsibility, because, once you take on being your own attorney, there's a lot of things that you just simply have to know, and if you don't know them, you can be seriously in dire need.
Right. She said all the people who told me not to take the plea all this time were either not calling me back or they were telling me to listen to my attorney. Even then, I was still telling my attorney I wanted to fight it. He asked me what my defense would be, shot down my reply, and told me I'd have a better chance fighting my ex to keep my 9-year-old. She calls him anonymous caller number 1, abusive sociopath. I won't sacrifice my kid, especially if I have no one fighting for me in the courtroom. So she felt that in jail, who would fight for her children?
Well, and once you're removed, it's very difficult to fight from in jail. I myself have written briefs on toilet paper with the pencil sharpened on the bricks between the cement between the bricks, so I know it's very difficult in jail. And a lot of times, just even getting to the law library is a big deal, to even look stuff up. Anyway, here's the scope of this. United States Code, Title V, Government Organizations and Employees, Section 706, to the extent necessary, to decision, and when presented, the reviewing court shall decide all relevant questions of law, interpret constitutional and statutory provisions, and determine the meaning or applicability of the terms of an agency action. This reviewing court shall, that means must, compel agency action unlawfully withheld or unreasonably delayed. And of course, she's been denied due process, so it was denied or delayed. Hold unlawful and set aside agency action or trial, findings and conclusions found to be arbitrary, capricious, and abuse of discretion, or otherwise not in accordance with law, contrary to constitutional right, power, privilege, or immunity, in excess of statutory jurisdiction, authority, or limitations, or short of statutory right. There's always a right of due process of law. Without observance of a procedure required by law, well, due processes are absolutely required by law. Unsupported by the substantial evidence in the case, subject to Sections 556, which means the burden of proof of jurisdiction, and that basically says that the burden of proof falls on the plaintiff claimant. That's Title 5, Section 556, Parens D. The proponent of a rule or order has the entire burden and proof of all claims. So the government would have the duty to prove the jurisdiction. They probably never did that. Section 557 of Title 5 is a list of all the ways you can violate somebody's due process rights. And if you violate this, of this title, or otherwise reviewed on the record of an agency hearing provided by statute, or unwarranted by the facts, to the extent that the facts are subject to trial de novo, that means you get a whole new trial over again by the reviewing court. And in making the foregoing determinations, the court shall review the whole record, or those parts of it cited by the party, and due account shall be taken to the rule of prejudicial error. Well, we got all kind of prejudicial error here. They didn't provide the exculpatory evidence. They denied her due process, so they got to give her a complete new trial if she focuses on that issue of due process denial. And that is the absolute supreme law of the land under Title V. And they violated the hell out of all of those points. So technically, she has a right to a new trial. And they have to come forward and provide under Brady v. Maryland and under United States v. Jenks that exculpatory evidence which would change the outcome of the result of trial before. They didn't follow the law, and so that's why the chief judge in our state said, if it is found that the government has failed to honor the Jenks material under Title 18 United States Code Section 3500, they proceed at their very peril, and I will dismiss the case. So this stuff is definitely there. It can be used. She can, in fact, do this. She can pull back and force a complete retrial of the entire matter And if it should be found that the government has deliberately denied her due process and withheld this Jenks material, they got to dismiss everything and give her damages.
Wow.
So there's remedy here.
Well, I can hardly wait for Angela to post this and for me to send the link, and we'll be looking up all of what you just cited because you helped my husband and his son so much in their case.
Well, I'm doing the best I can under very serious limitations, but I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to get every little person their honest day, and sometimes even I can't quite make it to everybody. I try hard, but the bottom line is we just try and get to every single person, get this knowledge far and wide, and hope that people use it effectively to their benefit and or dismissal of the error here.
I'd like to say this is Joe, Paula's husband.
Okay.
Constitution man, I use so much of your stuff in my case, and I want to tell all the people out there, you're the real deal. You've got the right stuff, and it works. And everybody should tune in to you. And if we could change America if everybody starts standing up in court.
Well, I've been teaching that for 43 years now. This is my 43rd year. The important thing to also understand, though, is a lot of people only have the skill level of doing this on traffic tickets. But when you start getting other things involved, like serious matters, we also want to make sure that you understand that attorneys are valuable, too, if you get a good one, okay? In other words, not all attorneys are bad. There's some very good attorneys out there. Believe me, I could tell you for sure. I know a bunch of them. But the problem is, for people to find a good attorney is very difficult. And at the same time, they have to find one that's not got a gun to his head that says, hey, if you help this person, they're going to pull your bar license, you see. That's one of the reasons why I do not carry a bar license, even though I passed the bar exam with 98% correct answers. Because nobody's coming into my office and telling me I got to let this guy lose or they'll pull my bar card, you see. I just won't do that. So they got to come after me. They got to come after me and charge me with all kind of ridiculous charges. And then we go to court, and I wipe the floor with them, and then they don't want to play no more.
Well, we love you.
That way. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. So sometimes attorneys are very intimidated by the fact that if I take your case, I'm probably going to get disbarred. And you're only one little case, and I got a wife and a family and a $300,000 house payment and all kind of stuff. I can't just take your case and be out of business overnight. I put 25 years into my law practice. I, went to law school. I paid my dues. I busted my ass. I got in all of those government school loans, and I'm in hock to my eyeballs, and I can't just all of a sudden irresponsibly throw my whole practice away by taking on your one little case. So if you don't have a couple $1 million, there's no way I can actually do that without getting my bar card jerked. So there's some serious problems here. But I recommend people in very serious matters, especially in matters involving child custody and some of these really heavy, hard-hitting, like this case here, we should try and get a good attorney that will actually work within the law and help this woman and give them all this information. And then they have a chance of going in there and just changing entirely the whole operation and direction of this case. But now I've got to find that attorney with that kind of character and that kind of serious chutzpah.
Well, we'll hook her up with Angela so she can hook up with you, because it's more than we can take on. I mean, we've learned enough to keep our asses out of jail, but I don't think I know enough for her case.
Well, we'll give her the best information, and hopefully we can find her an attorney that will be willing to work. Maybe, I don't know what state she's in or where she's from. Or
She's in Oregon, and she doesn't have much money, and Normal provided her a pro bono attorney, which I think was part of the problem.
I see. And what happened? The attorney wimped out or quit?
Well, he advised her to take the plea because she was facing much more time, but she still would be going to prison. They're still talking felonies.
Yeah.
9 felonies.
Well, you understand also attorneys want to win, and they consider that you take the plea and get out from doing all those felonies in time, that also is a win. But they don't consider the fact that, well, if you go to jail, in other words, if you're dead, you're dead.
Right.
So that's another problem, and now we have these children involved here, and then the children have to have consideration that they need their mother. And then how is she going to be their mother in jail, you see? And then probably she has a problem with is it an ex-husband who is trying to take advantage of the situation now?
No, he's one of the people who turned her in.
Ah, now I'm starting to see the light here. I'm trying to figure this out. Oh, okay. And then he turned her in. Now he's going after her to get possession of the kids. Is that it?
You got it.
Oh, boy. Isn't it too bad to see this kind of stuff going down?
It's terrible.
Well, isn't it I'm not totally familiar on this. Oregon is one of the states that allowed for this medical practice of
Yes, and she had a license to be a medical supplier. That's what she was doing, was supplying people. But the guy in the wheelchair had applied for a medical card. He was on the list, but he was in a lot of pain, and he was terminal. And she helped him by giving him some medical marijuana medicine, and he hadn't had his card, so that's one of the things that they're using to get her. And then for the amount that she was growing, according to her letter, she was a half a plant over. I don't know how you have a half a plant, but she was a half a plant over the legal, what she was allowed to have.
This is ridiculous.
Prove it.
That's what we said.
I conditionally accept your offer upon proof of claim.
Well, I'm well aware of the proof of claim, but at the same time, they have a proof of claim, too. One, that they have jurisdiction. They're a bankrupt corporation. Technically, they don't exist under the law. So we got House Joint Resolution 192, June 5th, 1933, that says they're bankrupt. They don't even exist. So how does a bankrupt corporation come into court and make claim? How does the prosecutor, who's probably not even a serious licensed attorney to practice law from the bankruptcy court, he probably doesn't have a certification that he is a bankruptcy trustee, so he doesn't even have a right to talk, period.
And your party.
And the reality is they did this whole thing 100% unlawfully anyway, because they denied her due process of law and denied her exculpatory evidence pursuant to U.S. versus Jenks and Brady versus Maryland. So they broke the law when they did that in their oath of office, you see. Now, are we starting to see a trend here?
We got to hook you up with her.
Now, we'll see what we can do. We'll try and figure out.
Have her listen to the audio after it's up there, and then have her. That way, when she does talk to him, she'll have a better grasp of what he's talking about.
Well, we're willing to do anything. We really want to help this woman.
All right, well, find a way to get me the contact information, and I'll do my best to try and give her some serious points so that we can try and get her. See, they won't argue this bankruptcy issue. They don't want to go there.
Really?
They will.
All right, good.
Get her out of here now, because if they have to bring this up in a forum, why, it'll be recognized across the country on the news. We can't have people thinking we're bankrupt. Why? Because you're civilly dead. You don't exist. What are you talking about? This is the United States of America. We can't have that.
That sounds really powerful, because really at the basis of the prison system is the bankruptcy of the country.
Well, I think, there's a lot of basis for the prison system. It's purely profitable to trafficking in people. It's always been profitable. It's just who does it and whether or not they're lawfully entitled to do that. Anybody else would be busted for slavery.
Well, that's why we didn't like the medical marijuana movement, because regulation means more prisoners.
Well, it also means the fact that they're given an illusion that they're trying to help people, when in reality they're just trying to
fill their own pockets.
Pass on themselves and fill their own pockets on the sale.
Right.
They're just trafficking, period.
Right. And also up in Canada, we heard from Christian Lorette, who's a producer of Run from the Cure, that talks about the oil that cures cancer, was saying that by the time people get a card in Canada, the grade that they get from the government is such bad quality that the patient still has to get it illegally in order to get what he needs for the remedy. So if you consider that chemotherapy and radiation is 80% of the profits of the pharmaceuticals, by the time any so-called medical grade of marijuana hits the market, it's going to be so poor that people are going to continue to do the therapies that don't work but are so profitable.
Yeah, I see the problem now. That's definitely part of the problem, for sure. It's all about money and this medical program with this chemotherapy, and I'm going to tell you as a person that's been in on this chemotherapy a long time, a lot of that chemotherapy kills people. It helps some people, but it kills a whole lot of other people.
We would like that. You've given us so much information and helped us in so many ways. Please go to Run from the Cure. The full version, if you type that in, please watch that video. It's about Rick Simpson, who cured 2,000 people using the extracted oil from marijuana. And in Canada, right now, he's a fugitive running and hiding.
He's in Honduras.
He's in Honduras. We're in touch with him quite often. But at this point now, he's cured 3,000 people. And a lot of them were terminal cancer patients who the doctor said go home and die.
Yeah, they said that to me in 1994. I said, you don't have 6 months to live. I fooled them. I lived.
Please watch this video because it will be an education for you.
I think pretty much everybody has seen it. I don't know.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen it, so I will definitely.
You may have not. Yeah, you should watch it. You can watch it on the computer.
Constitution Man, they had him in court up in Canada, and he's a feisty man. He was at one point saying to the judge, because he's such a healer, he's just so into it, he says to the judge, if you're not careful, you're going to go to jail, because how can you deny the population of Canada the cure for cancer? How can you do that? And the judge apparently, gave him a $2,000 fine, and that was for not having a card. That's all they could do. But he felt that when he got the award from the High Times magazine in Amsterdam, that it was a trick to get him out of the country, and while he was out, they came and raided his place. He knew that they were always trying to raid, so he had cameras around, and the cameras were all posted so that the SWAT team could tear down the cameras, but they missed one camera, so they actually got all the SWAT team on camera, and they put it in their local community in Nova Scotia, but he didn't feel it was safe enough for him to come back, so then he was taking refuge in Czechoslovakia, and most recently he's in Honduras. Because, again, he's always being seduced by these money people that say they're going to set him up, and then they leave him high and dry. And he said he went from Costa Rica, where he was supposed to have a clinic and everything was going to work well, and he said they just left him. And then he had to go to Honduras, where he said at least he wouldn't starve and he would be warmer than where it was in Costa Rica.
No, I think, there's some special problems. I'm not for helping the bad guys, so let's not give out private information of where this guy is or may be or might be. Let's not help the bad guys go after him, okay?
No, he doesn't care if people know, because he's hoping that people will send donations. That's about the only way he can survive.
Work out his plan. Let him work out his plan. Because
he's already communicated that to us, that he wants us to tell the world where he is. We're just following what he wants. We would never do it without him saying that.
You check with him, and it's okay with him. I stand corrected, but until I know that, I'm going to be erring on the side of him. You know what I'm saying?
You're right, and
we're in touch with him quite often. These were his explicit instructions.
Okay. All right, as long as you have that and his go-ahead, then I don't...
Well, this is kind of how he operates, like he was growing 1,600 plants in his backyard in Nova Scotia and just giving it away to everybody, and because of that, he was so popular. So when the raids started coming in, you can imagine that made the Royal Mounted Police very unpopular.
Yeah.
You know, he rather prevailed in court. Everybody said it's amazing he stayed out of prison, but he's a healer.
He wasn't selling any of this oil. He was giving it away free, just healing people. And he has healed 3,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that there will be a special place in heaven, and God will be looking out for him, you know, that his heart was in the right place. Unfortunately, the governments right now really are taking a dim view of his activities based on the premise that he's trafficking in contraband material, and it still hasn't gotten that, shall we say, black mark off of it. No matter how many blessings and medical certifications he may have, they are not ready to allow him to be on an equal plane functionally on the street as a legitimate practitioner. This is part of the problem of all medical healers, and I know a bunch of them that are real special people. I know one doctor, he goes down to the jungles of South America every year to work with these shaman priests and medical practitioners in the jungle to better use the plants and the herbs of the jungle. He cured my legs unbelievably, where all the other doctors had given up. And I go to this guy, and my friend says to me, "Your doctor is a pothead." I said, "What?" "He's out in the grass right now, going through the grass. He's collecting grass in the front yard and putting it in a little white dish, and he is a pothead. And when he comes in, he takes this thing and grinds it all up and made a poultice and put it on my leg, and it cured gangrene."
Yeah, we've known a few other people that with marijuana.
And he saved my legs, you understand? So I'm very grateful. And he learned this stuff from those shaman priests down in the jungles of South America, working with them on cures and medical practices. Now, he's a natural healer. He's a certified regular doctor. He's got his doctor's degree and everything. He's also a practitioner and licensed by Chinese medicine to practice acupuncture. I mean, he's a chiropractor. I mean, he's a natural healer, and people just have to line out the door. The guy is renowned. They call him Doc, and everybody knows who he is around this area, and all the doctors are jealous as hell of him because he cures stuff that nobody else can cure. And it's because of his knowledge and working with these shaman priests. And if you go in his back office, I'm always amazed. There'll be books everywhere on the floor, papers and documents, and when he's in heavy research to look something up, why, he don't fool around. And you'll go down, he'll be sitting in the middle of the floor, and there'll be books everywhere where he's studying and learning how to do stuff. And he just doesn't sit there and charge you big fees and say, "I'm Dr. So-and-so." He actually does the deal. And, I mean, he cures cancer like most doctors cure colds. I mean, he's really good. But he sounds like the same kind of person who has that same kind of God presence in his heart to help every little person. And this guy is absolutely beloved. They would no more think of going after this guy than the man in the moon. They'd have people screaming if they did.
Oh, that's the way it is with Rick Simpson. I mean, people love him. I mean, he's just a good-hearted guy. All he wants to do is help people get well, and he's been doing it for so long. Thank you so much, Paula and Joe. We appreciate you.